The real cost of rare earths, security, sovereignty, and the battle for Ukraine's future. In an era marked by a renewed scramble for resources, the recent minerals deal between Ukraine and the United States is not just a matter of economic ambition, it is an urgent geopolitical signal. Beneath the surface of commercial agreements lies a much deeper, more troubling reality. Without security, there can be no prosperity, and without strategy, peace remains a fantasy. This was the clear message from General Sir Richard Shirreff, former Deputy Supreme Allied Commander Europe, in a recent interview with Times Radio's Frontline. As General Shirreff starkly pointed out, you've got to put in place not only management of technical risks, but you've absolutely got to manage the security, geopolitical, and other interrelated risks. Mining rare earth minerals, critical for everything from smartphones to defense systems, requires stable environments and years of development. Yet Ukraine remains embroiled in a brutal war against a belligerent Russia, with battle lines shifting and civilian infrastructure under near-daily assault. The prospect of American companies safely extracting resources in a war zone is not just far-fetched, it's dangerously naive. This minerals deal, while perhaps well-intentioned, masks a troubling truth. The war in Ukraine is far from over, and there is no coherent Western strategy to bring it to an end that respects Ukrainian sovereignty. On the contrary, Shirreff warns that U.S. efforts, particularly under a future Trump administration, may push for a rushed ceasefire that sacrifices Ukrainian territorial integrity for short-term geopolitical gains. Trump will try to force that deal down Zelensky's throat, Shirreff said bluntly, voicing concerns that American eagerness to move forward on resource extraction may incentivize dangerous concessions to Russia. In this context, it's critical to ask, what does support for Ukraine truly mean? Declarations of solidarity ring hollow without action. Shirreff stresses that unless there is a clear intent to defeat Russia in Ukraine and provide cast-iron security guarantees, including NATO membership, no document or deal carries real weight. Mere affirmations of strategic partnership, absent a firm commitment to Ukraine's victory and reconstruction, are symbolic at best and misleading at worst. The consequences of weak strategy are already visible. The so-called Trump ceasefire proposal, what Shirreff dismissively calls a capitulation deal, has failed to gain traction not only because of Ukrainian resistance, but because of its fundamental strategic incoherence. It seeks peace without deterrence, negotiation without leverage, and reconstruction without security. Meanwhile, Europe continues to dither, paralyzed by political hesitation and a lack of unified purpose. Europe's capacity is not in question, its will is. Is Europe willing to make the sacrifices necessary? Shirreff asked rhetorically. The recent inability of European nations to contribute meaningfully to a proposed 64,000-strong reassurance force exposes a continent that, despite its wealth and proximity to the conflict, has failed to rise to the challenge. Britain's decision to pivot from deploying such a force to sending training teams exemplifies the gap between rhetorical resolve and operational reality. Yet, training and logistics are not without value. Helping Ukraine build command, control, and operational effectiveness is essential. Ukraine's military has shown remarkable resilience, and Western support in areas such as operational planning could enhance its capabilities. But none of this negates the fundamental need for a unified strategy aimed at Russia's defeat. To understand why this matters, one must grasp the nature of the adversary. Russia can only survive by expanding, Shirreff warns. It expands, overreaches, collapses, and begins again. That cyclical aggression is embedded in its political DNA. The only way to break the cycle is through strength, deterrence, and a refusal to accept incremental appeasement. History has proven, through the betrayal of the Budapest Memorandum in 1994 and the failure to stop Russia in 2014, that half measures invite aggression. Sanctions, Shirreff argues, must be part of the strategy, but they are not a silver bullet. Economic isolation, particularly through cutting off Russian oil exports and cracking down on countries that launder Russian resources into Western markets, must be complemented by military and political action. That includes integrated air defense systems over central and western Ukraine, launched and supported by European allies. It is entirely manageable, Shirreff insists, and it would send the strongest possible signal to Moscow. We will not let you bomb Ukraine into submission. The Kremlin's behavior confirms the logic of this approach. Despite public posturing about ceasefires, Russia continues to escalate, building up forces near Finland, and using military exercises in Belarus as a cover for troop deployment. It is exploiting every crack in the West's armor, every whisper of doubt about NATO's cohesion. And NATO, Shirreff warns, now faces its own existential reckoning. At the upcoming summit in June, the alliance must confront a pivotal question: is America truly committed? With Trump-aligned voices casting doubt on Article 5, the cornerstone of collective defense, European leaders must prepare for the possibility of a future without unequivocal U.S. support. You can't be half in, half out, Shirreff says. You can't be half pregnant. If America signals retreat, Europe and Canada must prepare to carry NATO's weight. This raises the stakes for the summit. It cannot merely be another round of statements. It must produce a strategic framework, one that ensures Ukrainian victory, delivers real deterrence against Russia, and reestablishes the credibility of Western defense commitments. Finally, on the thorny issue of Crimea and the Russian-occupied oblasts, Shirreff offers a moral as well as strategic warning. Any recognition of these territories as Russian rewards aggression and normalizes atrocity. What sort of world are we going to live in if that sort of thing is okay, he asks. The West cannot condone a precedent where borders are redrawn by force, cities leveled with impunity, and war crimes ignored in the name of pragmatism. The situation in Ukraine today is not just a local conflict. It is a defining test of the international order. Without clarity of purpose, firmness of resolve, and unity of action, the West risks not just losing Ukraine, but inviting further chaos in the years to come. And no mineral, no matter how rare, is worth that price.